All right. Well, good morning, everybody, here on the Zoom call in our 5-day sync challenge. And obviously, to all of you guys on my YouTube live stream right now. If you guys are watching this via live stream and you want to join us in the Zoom call, there's a link in the description box. You can get the Zoom link absolutely for free. Just click on it, put your email address in. You can get this link and follow along live if you want to and jump in. Or if you want to follow along for the rest of the week, you have to sign up to get the Zoom links for Tuesday through Friday. So if you want to get access to 4 production music libraries, analysis for how to submit to them, what kinds of types of music are great for them, you also want to potentially get some feedback on your music, then you do need to join us through that link below to join these Zoom calls. This is going to be the only session, one, that I'm going to put on my YouTube channel. So I want to make sure you guys are all clear on that. But I want to say, obviously, good morning to everybody that joined us on the Zoom call. We have, at this point, I lost my Zoom thing. I want to see how many people we got coming in here right now. It looks like we've got 130 of you, and we were kind of doing a little roll call before we got started. And it looks like we have somebody from almost every continent other than Africa so far. But I'm hoping for Africa to show up here. But we have everywhere on planet Earth. We had Europe, we have South America, we had India. It's just all over the world. It's kind of crazy. And so I'm really grateful to have you guys here with us today to join us for this 5-day boot camp. Challenge, whatever we're going to be calling it. But I think the point of this and what I really want you guys to get out of this is a realistic expectation on what this industry is going to potentially provide for you if you want to give it a full-time stab. And also, more importantly, what you realistically have to think about in terms of the expectations of what it's really going to take to do well. Because as you'll find out as we get started today, this is not an easy business to be a part of. I know that there's a lot of people talking about sync lately. You've probably seen a lot of influencers on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, everywhere talking sync. It's great. You should do sync. You should do sync. And not many people, I find, are talking about the realities of actually how much hard work this can be, how long it can take to see results, and some of the pitfalls you're going to probably run up into. So part of my job for this week, I feel, is to definitely motivate you, educate you, get you engaged, get you excited about this industry if you feel it's the right fit for you. But here's part of the secret challenge. I'm actually secretly going to try to weed a lot of you guys out. I'm going to actually try to scare a certain number of you away from sync licensing if I can possibly do that. And the reason why I'm doing that, I'm just telling you that before you even get started on any of this, is because I don't want to waste any of your time. I don't want you to waste any of your time. Life is very short, and I know I can see from the chat, we're all probably in our 20s and 30s, right? That seems about right where we all are at. Everybody's maybe 35 max. Yeah. Everybody just agree with me. Just nod your head. I'm agreeing with that myself. I'm 40 this year, just so you guys know. And so life is short, right? And so we want to make sure that we are spending the most efficient time as possible. And we want to make sure that we're not deluding ourselves into, playing the lotto ticket with our music careers and just thinking, well, hopefully I'll just throw some tracks over in this catalog and I'll get discovered and maybe I'll blow up because I'll get that big placement, or just having false expectations for what this is really going to take for you to succeed. So if I can have you not waste your time in sync licensing because you find out from this challenge, ooh, that's a lot of work. That's going to take some time. That's going to take a commitment from me. Am I really ready for that? I will feel like it'll be such a successful event for me if I can scare some of you guys away from this, okay? Not just because reasons, but for a specific reason that you go like, you know what? I was sort of partially interested in this, and now that I got a realistic view on what is this really going to take for me and what kind of commitment I have to put into this is just not the right fit for me. And I say, God bless you. That's great. I'm really glad for you, for those of you that are going to make that decision. And some of you will make that decision. But for the rest of you that find that, no, I'm not scared. I was definitely aware of this, or now that I'm aware of it, I'm ready, I'm committed. We're definitely going to put you on a much stronger path than probably what you were on before you went through this 5-day boot camp. I can guarantee you that. The whole point of this is to supercharge your career, to make sure that you're not wasting time, you're not making a bunch of bonehead dumb mistakes like I made and a lot of sync license producers make when they first get started in the business. I've been at this for 16 years. I have 8,500 placements under my belt. So if there's one thing on planet Earth I've kind of figured out a little bit, or a lot, it's TV film sync licensing through production music libraries. And that is really what we're going to focus on this week. I know some people want to pitch their music to supervisors, or they want to go different routes. That's great. Go for that. We can talk about why I don't think that's the smartest approach. But what I talk about and what I focus on, and what you're going to learn in this week's long challenge, is how to work directly with production music libraries. So I'm gonna make sure you guys are all clear on that. We had some confusion last time we did one of these that people were like, well, what about supervisors? That's not my game. That's not what I do at all. So I want to make sure you guys are clear. That's what we're going to talk about, how to work with production music libraries. Okay. First, and this is what we did last time we did this, and this is so crucial. This is where I need you guys to participate. For those of you that are on the Zoom call, all 152 of you now, right, where we are growing still. I need to know this. Please put some thought into this and put it in the chat. What are you struggling with right now the most? And I like to read these. I'm going to read them aloud because I want to make sure that as we go through the next 5 days, I'm not just talking in circles and I'm just talking about things that are interesting to me, but I'm talking about things that are really important and useful and interesting to you in terms of where you're struggling. Maybe you don't know how to get started. You're trying to find a library. You don't know if your tracks are ready to go. You've got some concerns about, is sync really a viable option anymore? Are you worried about AI? Like, where are you struggling? It doesn't matter. This is an uncensored chat. Granted that nothing horrible comes out, but be honest, be transparent. What is really going on in your life right now that's really kind of frustrating you a little bit or getting you a little bit concerned, okay? Robin's learning her DAW, okay? Getting the quality right for Ryan, getting songs accepted into a library. By Marek, making licensable tracks, actually getting started. Okay, moving lines, we're going to help you with that. Knowing how much music do I need to have ready to go, great. Upping my quality, connections, getting my songs pitched, struggling with balance, time, and work and family to make music. Very, very important, Victor, and that's one of those reasons why a lot of producers don't make it in this business is getting this work-life balance thing correct, and I was not a shining example of it, I'll be honest, right from the top. Getting into a library, we're going to talk about that. We can definitely help you. Mark, getting melodies right, making quality music. Roger, composing, finding a good library, where to start. Okay, where to send tracks. So a lot of you guys are trying to figure out, where do I send my music? Great, you're at the right place. This is the exact right sync licensing boot camp you need to attend. And a lot of you are talking about your quality, getting the quality up. So that's really, really good. We're going to talk about knowing if my music is good enough. Right here, Alex, you're hitting it out of the park right there. Knowing if your music is good enough. A lot of you guys might be composing music, you've been doing it for a long time, and you might think, and you get some feedback from your friends and family, and you're like, yeah, this is great. I can definitely hear this on TV. But maybe you've been rejected by libraries, you haven't submitted yet, you're not really sure, and you really want to know, but do professionals think my music is ready for TV? I know my wife, my girlfriend, my husband, my friends, they're patting me on the back, which is really great, but is this really going to cut it in the professional world? So we're going to talk about that. It's a really good point. Quality tracks, getting my music heard, how to get started, finding a sync agent who will pedal my music. Yep. Okay, so I think we're kind of seeing the sort of getting a proper email pitch. We'll definitely talk about that for sure. So I think we've got a sort of a theme here, right? And it's exactly what I have structured this entire talk around. So I'm really glad that this is matching up very quickly already, which is how to find high quality libraries and how to make sure that your music is high quality and the right type of music for that company. It's a really crucial, important thing that a lot of producers and composers get wrong because they haven't been properly coached or guided in this business. So we're going to talk about that. So thank you guys. Appreciate you guys participating. So what you're going to get from this challenge, okay? So for those of you guys that are in the Zoom call, if you're on YouTube, again, you got to click on the link below if you want to get the Zoom links for the rest of the week. But if you sign up and you join us, it's absolutely for free. This is what you're going to get. I am going to share with you four top-rated libraries that you can pitch to. Okay, so these are libraries that are coming from my recommendation service called SyncEdge, but you guys get them 100% free. Usually, only paying customers are going to get access to these companies. And not only did I just show you, here's their URL and email address, I'll give you their contact information. But I'm also, and this is most important, what you're going to get through these Zoom calls is my process for how to analyze a company. And my goal and my job is try to export this insight, this information, this process that I have into all of your brains, all 168 of you that are joining. So I want you guys to basically have access to what I look at when I'm analyzing these companies. Just because you find a production music library through a Google search doesn't mean that your music is the right fit for them. They might even accept your music, but your music still might not be the best fit for them. And what I mean by the best fit, I mean music that can fly off their shelf next month into their clients' hands. For TV clients, film clients, video game clients, trailer clients, whatever it is that they're particularly serving. I don't want you guys to send your music into a company and then they go, yeah, we could use this maybe someday. And then you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs, maybe someday getting placements. You don't have the luxury of that. Life is short, as I said. Time is of the essence. I want to make sure that when you guys do pitch to the companies that you do it in the sense of you do some research around it to know that your music is actually the most licensable and it's useful for their current TV and film clients, and that you're not just going to be sitting on the shelf as a maybe could be useful for somebody in the future. Nobody wants to be in that position, and I definitely don't want you guys to get there. So that's what you're going to get is my process. Hopefully you can replicate it for yourself if you want to, okay? We are going to do track reviews. We're going to get to as many as we can with 100. We're closing in on 200 people now. Obviously, I'm sorry, going to disappoint some of you guys. We cannot get to everybody's track. We're going to try to do our best. We're going to ask that you guys, when you do submit a track, don't do it yet. I'll tell you guys how to do that. When you do submit a track and you do get a review from us, please don't submit another one. Please be respectful for everybody else. Make sure that everybody can hopefully get a little bit of time and attention. But we are going to give you guys some free track reviews on this session, not only from myself, but we're also going to have a guest speaker, Todd Andrew, who is a six-figure sync licensing producer who has secured themes for NBC, Fox, and Disney. So he's been at this actually even longer than I have, but he and I sort of came up in this business, and he's also going to be available Thursday for those of you that join us to get some track reviews as well. So you're also going to get insights from myself, from all the mistakes I've made, from all the successes I've had, what works, what doesn't work, and what mistakes usually cause most producers to bail out of this business and quit altogether. So you guys are going to get access to all of that in this. And I'm going to give you guys a secret offer on Friday. For those of you that make us through the entire session, the entire week, and show up on Fridays, it's something that I usually never offer. It's not going to be a public offer. It's only going to be only for those of you that want to show up and join us on Friday. So make sure you do stay with us for the entire week so you can get access to that one, okay? To get the most from this challenge, just show up every day. And spoiler alert, this little bit of advice is actually going to be the key to your success in sync licensing. Most producers don't make it, and the reason why is because they're not doing this very simple thing, just showing up literally. Talent plays a role, mindset plays a role, service mindset, all that good stuff. But all that talent and mindset and all that good stuff, what good does it do you if you're not showing up every single day in this industry and serving the clients that you're going to be partnering with, right? So let's sort of start off our careers or jet boost our careers on the right foot by showing up every day for this boot camp, right? Prove it to yourself that you can commit. You can make a commitment to say, I will show up at least for a week. So, if you think you're going to make this a full-time career for yourself, you're going to go well past a week, but let's just start with baby steps. Let's make a commitment right here and now that we're going to show up every single day for this boot camp. I'm going to make the time for it, and hopefully I want to see all 172 of you, we're almost getting there, show up every single day. That'd be great. Please silence, put away your phone, all the dings, all the notifications. They're going to pull your attention away from this stuff. And if you can just put that away or turn it off, whatever you need to do, that'd be great. Also, if you have any other what's it called? My brain is just destroyed right now. Your browser. You have any browser windows open? You have anything that could draw your attention away from the Zoom call? Please do close that out. That'd be great. Be active in the chat. It's going to be interactive. I'm going to ask you guys questions. I'm going to ask for your feedback. I'm going to see, do you guys agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? This is going to be a very fruitful conversation between all of us. So make sure that you do, stay close to your keyboard and make sure you do type in when I'm prompting you, okay? And do wait to post a link to one of your tracks until I ask for it, okay? We're not going to do track reviews today. We will start them tomorrow when we review our first library. And after we review that first library and tell you what specific types of music I think would fit well for that company, that's going to be the type of music that I ask from those of you. So maybe there's 20 or 30 of you. They're like, I got music like that. Let me post a track in here and see if Jesse thinks it would be ready to be pitched to that. That's when I have you do. Make sure you just give me a streamable link. I don't care if it's Dropbox, Disco, your own link, whatever. Nothing downloadable. I'm not going to download anything. Just make sure you give me a streamable, clean link that works. You've tested it, all that good stuff. If I click on it and I can't get access to it, we're not going back and forth. It'll just be passed and I'll skip on to the next one. So make sure you have that link ready. Make sure you have some of your best work ready to go. Again, we'll start those tomorrow, but do not post them in the chat until I ask for them. We'll do that after we review our first library tomorrow session. Okay? Any questions on that? You can put in the chat right now, but I think I'm pretty clear, all right? And again, we're going to get to as many as we can. I probably won't be able to listen to the entire track through of yours. I will sort of skim, the intro, the middle, and the end, kind of give a sort of overview on what you're really doing there. I think that was the best way we could do it last time. I'm going to try to do that again this time to get as many people feedback as possible and just sort of give you guys the down and dirty, here's what's working, here's what's not working. And hopefully by the end of some of these reviews, again, outputting my expertise and my wisdom and my feedback, you'll start to know exactly what's working or what's not working for tracks that I think are like, hey, thumbs up, you should start pitching to this company I just told you about, or not quite ready, and here's what you can do to get your track a little bit better and maybe make it a little more competitive to be undeniable for these libraries. I'll make sure you guys are clear on that. So, all right, so let's get into this. What is the harsh reality of sync licensing? Not just the harsh reality, though, the opportunity. Okay, so this is where a little bit of this tough love and some truth telling is going to come in and maybe scare some of you guys away. So if you can get through today's presentation, you're going to be in a good position. Okay, I want to make sure you guys are clear on all that. This is absolutely true. 95%, maybe even more, of musicians and producers bail out of this business. I have been coaching producers here online for 8 years. I started my YouTube channel in 2016, had some coaching services behind the scenes, and I've probably coached, 3,000 to 4,000 producers and composers at this point. And that's not a joke, and that's dead serious, that 95% of them are not making it to the long-term, point where this is going to be sustaining them for, part-time or full-time income at all. Why is that? Not because of a lack of talent. Okay. I have heard and coached some amazingly talented people that have done music that I could only hope and dream and wish to ever compose. And I can never be on their level. And that's not enough to get them to where they want to go. Not their skills, it's not their knowledge, it's none of that kind of thing. Because guess what? I've been in this industry over 16 years. I don't know everything about this business. I'm still learning every single day, every single week, as a result of what I'm doing here on my channel and through challenges like this. So nobody has all the knowledge, nobody has all the skills, and nobody has all the talent. And none of those things are, a lack of any of those things are causing anybody to jump out of this business. This is just hard. It is work. Okay. If this is going to be your career, you're going to put in some work to this. You're going to have to commit to this. And because it's hard and because it requires work, it is very, very rewarding. It is extremely rewarding. I can't tell you the feeling. I wish I could give you guys this feeling of knowing that you can create your full-time income through your creativity, through your music. Do you know what 0.00001% of the population on Earth has the luxury and the privilege to be able to say that? It's a small percentage of people that can literally live off of their creativity, especially in the music business. I don't have to go into how hard it is to succeed in the music business. You guys are all, living proof of it, of course. And so because of that, though, I find that it's extremely rewarding to get the other side of it. And also, here's a little reframe that can be really helpful for those of you that are maybe a little daunted by how hard it's going to be. It's your job security. Because even though it's, sync licensing has become much more popular and much more sort of, saturated in a way, a lot of people are trying to get into sync licensing. 95% are leaving, right? So it's a small percentage that have that sort of mindset that keep showing up and keep persisting to get to the point where they have these strong direct relationships that are allowing them to basically turn this into full-time income for themselves. And because it's very hard, and because not anybody can just dump off an album of, of songs with a library and have a full-time career, because it's not that simple, you can have some job security because it's very, very tough to get into. It's very hard to stick with. I wouldn't say it's hard to get into. Hard to stick with. Okay. So that's kind of a cool reframe that might be useful for you guys. The 5% that are getting to the point where this is either part-time or full-time, they're relying on this income, they're actually thriving and succeeding and seeing some momentum in their career, they're servers. That's it. That's the main difference. It's not the talent, not the skills, not the knowledge. They just have a mindset that's going, I'm here to make somebody else's life better with my creativity. If you can absorb that mindset, if you can adapt that mindset, if you can really exhibit that mindset and make yourself useful to other people, especially in the TV film licensing world, you're going to have a really bright future ahead of you. This is it. Okay. I'm telling you guys, I would put myself in like a C+ level of a producer. I'm not A, I'm not even B, I don't think. Maybe some of my tracks tip their head up into the B quality. I think I'm C+, maybe B- on most days. So I'm not the most talented. I don't have the best skills. I don't have the best home studio setup. I don't have all the best equipment. I don't have all the best. I don't read music at all. Okay. Very ignorant producer here. My ears are what I use. Okay. That's not what got me to where I am in terms of having 8,500 placements. It was service mindset. That's it. Okay. And showing up every single day. But that part of that is like, hey, somebody needs me, I better show up. If you got a service mindset, showing up every single day is a given. It's sort of one of these obvious things that you just need to do with your career. Okay. This challenge, if you guys show up every day, again, it's going to help you find the right library for your music. At least that's the hope. Maybe one of these 4 that I share with you in this week's presentation are going to be ones that you directly partner with and start making some great music with and get placements with. Even if none of these are the right ones for you, we're going to help you find, hopefully with this process of you analyzing companies, how to find the right one for you. So you're no longer swimming in uncertainty. You're no longer not sure where to get started, or maybe you're aware of a lot of companies, but which one do I partner with? Who do I trust, right? It requires a lot of trust, and it's kind of a scary thing to put a big chunk of your music in the hands of somebody you don't really know that well. We're going to definitely help you with that, okay? And obviously, to know how to make sure your music is ready to start being pitched. I will tell you, most of you, dare I say 95% of you, it might not be that high. We're going to go to 80%. I'm going to just tell you guys, tough love. Probably 80% of you don't have music that's quite ready for sync licensing. It doesn't mean that you're a lost cause or that it's going to be hopeless or it's going to take you decades to get there. But I'm just telling you, after coaching 3,000 to 4,000 producers for 8 years, talent can be there, but it's all about channeling your talent, again, to be useful and be serviceable and have licensable music. Again, we're creating production music in this industry. We're not just creating whatever we feel like making. We want to make sure that the tracks that we're spending time on are going to actually fly off the shelf and go into a scene or go into a promo or a trailer. So it takes a little bit of education, a little bit of a reorientation on how you're creating and how you're composing and crafting your music, maybe even some mixing and mastering stuff. But it's not rocket science. You don't have to relearn music theory. You don't have to relearn your DAW. It's nothing that, dramatic. but there does need to be a little period of education to make sure that your tracks are licensable and ready. So we're going to hopefully try to get you guys more confident. Maybe you're not there today or this week, but from what you learned in this session, you're going to hopefully have direct insights and some direct actionable feedback for like, okay, I'm not there, but I know how to get there now. This is what I need to start doing to get to where I need to be to have undeniable music for a production music library. So how does that sound? Does that sound good? Everybody put yes in the chat if that sounds like something you guys would like to get from this challenge. I would like to hear from you. So, all right, we're getting hit with a wall of yeses here, showing everybody on YouTube. So everybody's cool. All right, everybody likes this. All right. Let's talk a little bit about just the TV film business overall in terms of the overall architecture of the industry and how you kind of fit into it and what the promise of it potentially can be, okay? It is a over $328 million industry. It's growing and growing. It's actually one of the few parts of the, if we want to call it the music industry, that's been staying healthy over the course of, since I've been in the industry. You know how streaming has been doing, you know how sales have been doing, but sync has been one of these kind of like healthy, steady, stable, kind of slowly growing, but consistently putting more and more money in the pockets of producers and composers since I've been at this since 2008. So there's a huge need, still ongoing huge need, for both instrumental and vocal tracks. I will say as of the last couple of years, vocal is becoming more and more popular. So for those of you that are a vocalist yourself, or you're willing to work with a vocalist to maybe partner up on some music, you're going to be in a much more competitive place moving forward. Definitely this year and next year, moving on. A-list artists are very expensive to license. So if somebody wanted to go license, an Usher track or a Black Keys track or something like that, and they go to those labels and those publishers that own, the rights to that, and they say, hey, yeah, sure, we'll license our music for your car commercial, but it'll cost you, $100,000 or $200,000. If they got the budget, they'll pay for it. If it's worth it, they'll pay for it. But for a lot of the TV industry world, if you basically watch almost any reality show and a lot of scripted shows, drama shows, almost everything else, most of the music you're hearing are from kind of average Joes like me. You're never going to see my name on screen. You never know me. I'm not an artist. I'm not out there. But we can provide licensable, useful, serviceable, right, music for a lot of these clients that don't want to go spend $100,000 on a Black Keys song, but they still want that kind of swagger rock, cool 70s rock feel. Maybe I can provide something for a much cheaper rate. Granted, still a great rate, but for me, I'll take it. That I can serve kind of those needs. So that's kind of what we are doing in the production music library world. We are sort of a cheaper option for A-list artists that are going to charge like ridiculous amounts of money to place their tracks into TV shows, movies, and commercials. And because of that need, there's an entire blossoming and blooming industry called production music that basically grew up all around that need, okay? You, as a part of this, and definitely as a producer at home, you can directly partner with labels. I will tell you guys, not a fan of any pitching middleman service. There are a lot of them out there. Some of them seem a little more shady than others. We're not going to mention names. At best, they're unnecessary, okay? Because if you're signing up for some service, it's like, hey, you pay us a monthly fee and we'll send you these briefs from anonymous clients that we're not going to tell you who they are. And by the way, we're also not going to give you any insights as to if your music gets, accepted by them or if they've even been listened to, or all of that's opaque from you when you use a pitching service, somebody in the middle between you and a production music library or you and a client or anything like that, okay? You're not clear on really what's happening there. At best, all those opportunities actually exist, right? Everything is actually above board, which is a big if. But even if that is the case, you're at a massive disadvantage from the next producer who's going through a boot camp like this, who's going to learn how to directly partner, okay? Imagine you're a real estate investor and you want to go get serious about buying in houses and flipping them or renting them out. Which path would you take, right? A, you go online and you sign up for some sort of a mailing list where maybe hundreds or thousands of other real estate investors are also getting access to the same listings. Or you just pick up the phone and directly call real estate agents, or you start, doing a campaign to try to find people in a certain area and sending them letters and say, "Hey, I'm willing to buy your home or your apartment," right? It's a no-brainer, right? It's basically going to be the direct partnerships, the direct conversations, and the direct interactions you can have are definitely where the serious people go. And in every industry, it's not just sync licensing; it's anything you want to do. So if there's one sort of flag I can plant in the sand to say this is really what I stand for, and this is what I really want to champion for you guys, and I really want you guys to take from this, is I want you to feel confident and you to feel like you do belong in direct connection and direct partnership with production music libraries. Every single one of you are good enough, okay? I'm not saying your music is ready yet, okay? Maybe you got to do some work, but you yourself as an individual, as a human being, you don't need anybody in the middle pitching your music because they're more important and they're more connected and you don't have those connections. All the companies I'm going to share with you this week have open portals for producers and composers to directly submit to them, and they're regularly accepting new submissions all the time. That's their business. So I want you guys to take that from this, that you do have that that worth, that you belong with these companies, okay? As long as your music is the right one, the right type, and obviously it's prepared properly for them. And this is definitely an industry for producers anywhere in the world. We have music, producers, as we saw before, from almost every continent on planet Earth. All of you guys can work, and you can definitely work in the U.S. licensing industry if you want to. You got to just be able to create licensable tracks from your home studio. I'm sorry if you don't have a home studio and you're going to go pay. I mean, unless you're like super well off, you're a multimillionaire, and you can go pay some engineer in some studio every single day to go have them record it for you. God bless you. But no, most of us are going to have modest home studios. Most of my career was built with an iMac and an Apogee Duet interface. That's it. I have Adams A7 speakers, nothing fancy. I do everything in the box. Everything's plugins, mastering plugins, virtual instruments, all that good stuff. That's what I've done. So that's pretty much all you really need. You make sure that you have a good, high quality, decent home studio. Doesn't have to be professionally treated. I've never worked in any acoustically professionally treated room in my entire career. So you don't have to have anything like that. Just got to bring a mindset, a service mindset to this game, as we said in the beginning. As long as you've got these two things, doesn't matter where you are. If you are foreign, overseas, you're not in the U.S., but you do want to partner with BMI or ASCAP, those are going to be the companies that collect your royalties. You can do that. Okay, well, we can talk about that in this, but you don't have to be living in California or in LA or in New York. You can live anywhere in the U.S., anywhere in the world. It's really what's great about this business. It's about your mindset, your attitude. Are you coming with this really high quality mindset? And are you providing music that's high quality? Okay. How many of you guys feel great about that? That in the artist industry, in the record world, in songwriting world, it's about your marketability. It's about your image. Are you young enough? Are you sexy enough? Will people connect with you on this other kind of physical level? How many of you guys love the idea? I've just put yes if you love this, that this is an industry that really just value the music. It's just about the music. Like your music, and when production music library CEOs and supervisors listen to your music, they just give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's it. They don't go, did you produce this on a cracked version of Fruity Loop Studio with a headphone and bad a laptop and bad headphones, which is done fairly often in this industry? They have no clue. They have no idea. They just go, dude, this track is fire. It's perfect for what I want. We're going to place it. That's what's awesome about this. It's really just quality. It's kind of like that meritocracy that a lot of us want, of like just high quality stuff gets through, gets the reward, gets the placement. And it's not, there definitely is politics involved. We'll talk about that. But I do think that at the end of the day, music either works for a scene or it doesn't. And there's really no faking that. You either get to bring some great stuff or you don't. Okay. I think most of you guys know who I am. I'll go through this very quickly, but just in case some of you might be new, you don't know who I am or what my background is. I started in 2008. I worked for my modest home studio in Southern California. Most of it was just literally from my bedroom or from an extra room in my house. I now have a studio, or I have I guess not a studio, but an office space. It's definitely in a sort of corporate office space. I'm the only person doing music stuff here, but very modest, not acoustically treated, everything like that, right? No professional training, special skills. Like I said, I studied music theory, don't use it, don't read music. I just use my ears, basically. So I'm a very down and dirty, kind of rough, sort of uneducated music producer, but still was able to carve out full-time income for myself with sync licensing. So don't worry if you're not professionally trained or you don't have music theory in your background, okay? Currently, I have about 1,000, maybe a little bit more these days in my catalog. You can see here on the bottom right, it says 4,117, but that also includes all of my alt mixes, stems, variations of my main track. So basically about 1,000 is what I've been doing in my career. As of right now, I have over 8,500 placements. You can see all the placements here on screen. I won't even go through them. This is kind of my updated cue sheet that I just signed or just saw the other day. So you can see right here, I'm not with ASCAP now. I'm with BMI, but because I started with ASCAP, I still have an ASCAP account, which is great. By the way, you can only be with one or the other as a writer. You got to choose ASCAP or BMI. I do recommend BMI. I think BMI plays out better for TV placements, and I've been very happy with my membership with them since 2013 or something like that. But as you can see, my total 8,514, and that's still growing every single day. So that hasn't been slowed down. In fact, it's been speeding up in the last couple of years, okay? Now I'm doing all this. I want to pay it forward. I want to create a legacy. This is really important. When I got started in 2008, I had a shit job. Sorry for my French. I had a horrible, horrible, horrible day job where I got stomach aches coming into work, hating my bosses, hating my managers, resenting them, not understanding what we're doing. It was a startup tech company, and really feeling like just burned out on life and not excited about where I was going professionally. And then sync licensing was this thing I kind of stumbled into, had a band, ran into somebody who ran a production music library, and I said, well, as a band, we can't do this, but I'm an individual producer. Maybe I can give this a shot. And just sticking with it. Like I said, just showing up and keep going and learning from my mistakes and just struggling through it. It got me out of the work world. It got me out of the 9 to 5 world. It got me away. It rescued me literally from walking into a place where I hated my bosses, got stomach aches, hated my ambition. I even got fired because my attitude was getting so sour at the startup that I had the CEO pull me into his office one Tuesday morning. I remember it, and he said, "You know what? Your attitude's so funky. We don't trust you. Get the hell out of here." And he was yelling this. I'm not going to yell this and disturb all my fellow tenants here, but he was yelling this in front of the entire office space. I was literally hot fired, just yelled at. And so I just packed my stuff up and got out of there. And that was sort of my breaking point of like, never again. I'm not going back to another day job. I don't care what I do. I will scrub toilets. I will mop floors. I don't care what I do, which I did in college, by the way. I didn't mind it actually. It was actually kind of a fun job. I'll do anything. I just will never be in that position again. And sync licensing, married with my music, love of music, was this sort of like safety, rescue boat for me that got me out of that situation. So I'm desperately trying to pay that forward to all of you guys, that some of you are in that position. Maybe you love your jobs, maybe you don't, you can be in all different places, but this is definitely a getaway boat for some of you guys that can get you away from something that's not very fulfilling into a much more place, profitable and hopefully just more fulfilling place in life where you feel excited about, music and living again. That's really what it comes down to, right? So let's talk about what everybody's very excited about and everybody really wants to know is how do you make money in this business? Very good question. Thank you, everybody. There's two types of payments. Okay, there's upfront and there's also back end. Upfront payments are generally going to be broken into these three categories. So consideration fees, sync fees, and blanket fees. Consideration fees are generally what some exclusive production music libraries will offer you in exchange for allowing them to exclusively represent your music to their TV and film clients. Not all of them do that. What percentage of them? These days, it's less and less likely. It used to be about a 50-50. I'd say these days it's probably 75-25, maybe only 25% are still offering them. If you really want to have a higher chance of securing consideration fees, again, going back to vocals, having a full track with vocals is much more valuable these days to production music libraries than instrumental music. Doesn't mean instrumental music isn't important, doesn't get placed. 98% of my career was based on instrumental music, and I still know producers these days that are doing great with instrumental music, but I just want to make sure if you're looking for more consideration fees, that's really where you're going to find a little bit more of them, okay? Sync fees for sure are when you get a placement, and not for all opportunities. Generally, you're going to find sync fees for, especially when you work with production music libraries. Sync fees are when you get like an ad campaign, right? So I've done Nike for Jack in the Box, Outback Steakhouse, American Career College. I've done a couple of these customs where they want you to compose a song specifically for an ad campaign. That's generally where you'll find sync fees. And these range. I mean, they can be in the hundreds for a small opportunity. My highest one was $7,000 for the American Career College campaign that I did. There's definitely more. There's higher, but that's the highest that I've done. So these are basically when you are sort of asked to create something custom on the fly for a particular campaign, generally, okay? If a client's going to come into a catalog and say, hey, I'm a reality TV show like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, I just need to get a lot of EDM music for a lot of our different episodes. Generally, you're not going to earn a sync fee every single time you get a placement. That's going to be covered what is called under the blanket fee. So a blanket fee is what a production music library charges, let's say, the producer of Keeping Up with the Kardashians to have access, almost like a buffet, to their entire catalog or maybe a portion of their catalog. Now, unfortunately, most libraries do not share a portion of those blanket fees with composers and producers. Sorry, again, tough love. It's truth, though. I've been with one library over my entire career that did share a portion of it, and it was maybe hundreds of dollars throughout the year, so it wasn't a lot. But again, never going to sneeze at money coming in from my music. But it's just generally not going to be a big source of income from you. Generally, that's where the libraries kind of try to create a little bit more of their upfront income to keep their operating expenses, low and keep their income going high. Is to charge a sort of one-time, maybe annual fee, could be a 6-month fee, could be like a 3-year contract. It varies. But basically to say to this client, hey, give us whatever this amount's going to be, $25,000, $50,000, whatever it is, more or less, and you get access to as much of this music in our catalog as you want, because what we really want to do is collect on the back end for the royalties. So that's what we're going to talk about now. Performance royalties, that is the back end income you can earn, and that's going to be through your PRO. Again, ASCAP or BMI, generally, if you're going to work in the US, or if you're foreign, you want to work in the US marketplace, that's who you're going to be partnering with, okay? With libraries, you're going to focus on mostly back end, okay? You'll get some sync fees opportunities, maybe some consideration fees, but these are probably not going to make up the vast majority of your income. I'm just telling you, in my case, this is maybe 10% of my total income. Consideration fee royalties, which gets paid to you, if you're not aware, once every 3 months, basically quarterly, and you can get direct deposit right into your bank account, or you can have them mail you out a check if anybody's still doing anything with paper anymore these days. If you do direct licensing, that's if you're pitching your music specifically for, let's say a music supervisor. Again, I don't encourage that. Or you're going some other way, or maybe you yourself, as a result of this challenge, you want to open up your own production music catalog or something like that. You probably will want to focus a little bit more on getting some upfront money. But if you're going to work and follow in my footsteps with libraries, your focus is going to be on the back end. And this is one of the reasons why I think that 95% of people don't make it. And we'll talk about why. Just a little, just note here and make sure you guys are very clear on this. You must be a writer with just one PRO. So put in the chat right now, if you are a member of the PRO, let me know which one you're a member of. Put BMI, ASCAP, or whatever your local one is. Or if you're not with one yet, put no. I'd like to see how many of you guys are saying no. So we got SOCAN, BMI, we got a couple of no's, okay. For those of you that are saying no, your homework tonight will be to join a PRO, and I highly, highly recommend BMI. They don't pay me to say that. I have no affiliation, nothing like that. I'm just a happy, satisfied member, and I think they do great for production music library placements, and I know there's a debate on that. Some people who are with ASCAP are going to disagree. Totally fine. You can do your own research. You can find who you want to work with, but you definitely need to be a member with a PRO to be a player in this business. That's just step one, okay? BMI or ASCAP are open to anybody. I think they both charge a membership application fee. I think it's $50 to $100, something like that. CSAC is also the one in the US, but it is private. It's basically invitation only, kind of you have to apply. And they're only going to take you on if you've already probably got some royalties coming in. So for most of you guys here, probably that's not the case yet. So I wouldn't even recommend you checking them out. If you do, go for it. But most of you are going to probably fit into this BMI ASCAP category, okay? Thank you guys for being interactive in the chat. I do appreciate that. Let's talk about the best part while I take a swig of water. Yes, BMI just went through ownership changes, and I am happy, very happy with the ownership changes. They're updating finally their membership areas. I feel that they had a $100 million sort of excess from the buyout, and they shared that $100 million with all of us. I got a chunk of it. I actually released a video on my YouTube channel about it. So I like that. I like it when companies are being generous with the money that they're receiving. So I'm very happy with the buyout. I'm very happy so far. Again, I'll change my opinion if things are different, but I'm very happy with the direction of BMI. So that's my opinion, okay? Syndication. This is one of the best parts of TV film sync licensing. This is one of the things that really attracted me to this business is when your track gets played in one TV show, that single TV show, that single placement doesn't just usually get aired once and just go off the air forever. It can, there's some opportunities where that's going to happen, but in some opportunities, it can just get placed over and over and over again, re-airing, not only on the same network. Sometimes that show, you think about Seinfeld, how many different networks and cable companies have Seinfeld played on? How many different countries has Seinfeld played in? You better believe the composer is getting paid every single time. That composer has never stopped receiving royalties, and probably ridiculously great royalties, for his composition on that show. So that's the sort of big exponential networking effect that can happen in this business, that you can see one placement actually start to itself grow exponentially over the course of many different networks, different cable companies, and different marketplaces all over the world, okay? One track, as I said, can be placed multiple times in multiple shows. So just because one track, let's say of mine, got placed in The Voice, that doesn't mean that they retire the track. And it's like, well, that track's dead. Hang up its jersey. Nobody's going to place that one again. That track stays in the catalog, and it just can be placed again and again and again. And spoiler alert, what happens, this is how you can, if you want to get to 8,500 placements, I'll tell you how to do it. Basically, what happens is you'll get a couple of audio editors or people at a network that are basically in charge of selecting music to put in the background or the foreground of some show that has a lot of episodes. Like for me, sports has been a big player for me. So you get an audio editor that goes, man, Jesse's tracks are amazing. Maybe they don't even know my name. I don't care. This guy's tracks are amazing, and it works great for our show. I'm going to put his track or his album on a short list, and I'm just going to, people are lazy. Why would an audio editor want to go search through hundreds or thousands of tracks to find more music for the next episode? They've already got the 30 or 40 that they know work. They're proven, they're tested, it works great. They just go back, copy and paste, pull it out, and they just replace and put the same tracks into their episodes, episode after episode. And that's how you start to get the snowballing effect, where you start to see hundreds or thousands of placements starting to pile up in your cue sheet. So that's really what it takes, okay? So another exponential potential effect of this, which is really great. International royalties are a part of this as well. If you work with a production music library that has sub-publishers, these are going to be companies that are basically representing let's talk like a US company, like the ones that I partnered with. they'll take the catalog from the US company and represent it in their foreign market, wherever that is, all over the world. And that is basically how I have gotten placements in countries I've never visited to by people I've never met. There are people I've never met that are promoting and pitching and actively trying to get me placements in probably 30 or 40 countries all over the world. And a very sizable, I'd say the vast majority of my income the first couple of years of my career was coming from international royalties from international markets, even though I never partnered with one international company at all. These are all through my US company, but because they had sub-publisher deals, you work with one company, you get access to a bunch of different marketplaces. Again, another kind of unknown benefit of working with production music libraries that a lot of people don't understand. You can do this working from home or on the road. I had so many situations in my career where right when I was getting on a plane to go on a vacation, to go travel, I'd get that email, Jesse, we got this huge opportunity. We need 4 tracks by tomorrow night. Are you in? And it happens so often that I almost started to just plan travel because I was like, I know you guys are going to ask for new work. Like if things got a little slow, I was like, I better book a vacation because that's the only way I can get new work coming in. So I learned very quickly, bring a laptop with me and have enough of my resources, my plugins, and a really good quality pair of headphones to get something done on the road if I need to. So that's what's really great about this. You can have a lot more time with your family, a lot more time around your kids, and just not, bussing and moving around. A lot of you guys might be touring musicians and you know how old that can get. I did a lot of that myself. It gets old very quickly. You can make your type of music in this business. So you don't have to make Muzak. You don't have to make cheesy jingle stuff. I'll say not every single type of music is extremely licensable, but I can guarantee you, and this is what I want you guys to tell me right now, what style of music would you say you're best at that you want to focus on right now? That's what I want to hear from you guys in the group chat. So not more than one either, by the way. I'm going to put some pressure on you. I want one album or one genre that you're like, this is what I do great. I would like to see what you guys do here. So we got pop rock, tension, a lot of rock, cool. Tension, hip hop, Americana, suspense, rock, EDM, hybrid hip hop, good. EDM trap, heavy rock. I haven't seen anything yet. Christmas music. I haven't seen anything yet. R&B, that could be an iffy one. Depends on what kind of R&B you do. Lo-fi, Anthony. Sorry, that's gonna be one. It's gonna be a tricky one. Trailers, of course. Sports, yeah. Lo-fi, ambient tension. You got to be careful with that, Odie. Tension for sure. Ambient, pad, kind of ethereal music. Not a great choice, I'll be honest. It's not one that's going to do great. Everything else I'm seeing is doing great. Orchestral, cinematic, 80s rock. There's a little limited, appeal for that NG. Some, but it's not a career's worth. It's probably a couple albums at the most. Cool. So almost everything I'm seeing here, guys, is definitely sounding licensable with a few exceptions. Upbeat, energetic music for sure does better than the kind of slow melodic stuff. But whatever you're doing, hopefully you can just steer it into something that can be really, really useful and licensable. And so that's a pretty easy part of this. That's not a really hard thing to do. Reference tracks. Those are when like a library says, hey, we want you to make a track like the Black Keys or like Imagine Dragons or, whatever, Jay-Z. It doesn't matter who it is. They don't want to pay for this, A-list artist or composer or band. They want something that sounds like them, and here's a reference track. Or it might be another production cue. They're like, we really like this production cue. We can't get it. Can you make us something that's kind of like this, not ripping it off, not stealing from it? So they're going to give you sort of the cheat guide, the cheat code for how to make sure that you're going to create something that's useful and licensable for them. For those of you that have released artist music, how great would this be, right? You're putting music basically on Spotify, and you could have a sort of survey go out and say, hey, music fans of my genre, give me some reference tracks. What kind of music do you think I should make that you for sure would buy, download, share, or go viral? I mean, if you could kind of know that, a lot of people are kind of doing that by copying other artists, but you see that doesn't really work out well for a lot of artists because it's like, well, you sort of sound like this other one. We've already got that one. We don't need another one. With licensable music and with production music, you do basically want to follow in the footsteps of something that's already proven and what somebody likes. Not copy it, not rip it off, create your own version of it, but you're kind of being given the access codes for how to succeed. And of course, you get that with briefs as well. Sorry, I skipped it already, but briefs are basically just the physical instructions, the written instructions on what they're really going to look for. They can tell you things like, we want it 30 seconds, we want there to be some pauses in it, we want particular types of drums, we want a certain type of tempo. They're telling you everything you possibly could want to know for how to make sure you're going to get paid and get the placement. So that's what's really great about this business too. So this is important too, setting your expectations right. Okay, so I'm going to tell and share with you guys some real money, some real numbers. And again, this is not easy. Okay, so this might get a lot of you guys excited thinking, oh yeah, I can do it for sure. This is not to be misconstrued as something that you just drop off an album with a library and a year later you're making this kind of money. That's not what's happening here. That's not what I'm promising. That's not what we're teaching you guys about, okay? By the way, how many of you guys have your coffee or a drink? If you guys got a coffee or drink, put it up in your webcam. I'd like to see it. I'm morning here. It's still 9:45, so I'm on my coffee time. All right. Real money, real numbers, not easy. Okay. Upfront sync fees when you get a placement for maybe one of those ad placements that I was talking about before. They can range. Low side maybe around 1,000, could be even lower for maybe online spots. To well over six figures. I have in my career only been offered one opportunity that was in this range, $100,000. This is extremely rare, especially these days. This is not common anymore at all. Okay, you might get one of those in your career, and it doesn't mean you're going to get it, but it means you might be offered one. Very, very rare. Okay, so those days are kind of done. What you're going to find more often, actually, let me go back a little bit. What you're going to find more often is like when you work with production music libraries. As I said before, my highest was 7,000. You're probably going to see between 2,000 to 5,000, maybe up to 10,000. That's probably the range you're going to see for the upfront sync fees per gig that you do. So still, nobody's going to complain about earning $10,000 for doing maybe a week's worth of work or a couple of days worth of work. It depends what it is. But just so I want to make sure you guys, your expectations are clear. These, I think if we went back to the late 90s and early 2000s, these were probably happening all the time. There was much higher budgets going on. These days, there are many more outlets, many more channels and streaming platforms to get placements in. But the overall, the total numbers, or I guess the individual numbers for sync fees has definitely dropped quite a bit in the last 20 years. That's just the reality of our industry. It doesn't mean that the good old days are done. It just means that you have to kind of play a little bit more of a numbers game and not rely on maybe one gig or one placement to happen and to kind of basically carry you for the entire year, okay? Performance royalties from one placement, they can range from a few cents, sometimes even a fraction of a cent, to over $30,000. Again, it depends on the type of placement. We're going to talk about why, knowing the different types of placements is very important and which ones you really want to steer towards. You don't want to get the ones that are just getting you a couple of cents. You want to lean a little bit more towards those, multiple thousands of dollars. My single placement in my career, okay, this is not a total royalty check, but just a single placement from one song that I've received and one royalty statement was $2,800. It was actually for a queue in Germany. Never been to Germany. I'm actually half German. My bucket list, I'm going to go there. Never been to Germany. Don't know anybody in Germany. Again, never done any personal deals directly with anybody in Germany. This came through one of my U.S. production music library partners, sub-publishers. Because of those relationships, I'm seeing some of these great, amazing international royalties coming in. So this is my record. Hopefully I'll break it someday, but just so you know, that's the kind of money that can be possible, okay? At least for me. You can do even more than that, of course. Streaming services royalties right now are very low, laughably low. I get my royalties every quarter. The TV film placements that I'm getting, usually mostly TV, still great, especially in sports. If I can encourage many of you guys to get into sports, those are very healthy, doing very great. Netflix, Amazon, Disney, laughable. I mean, we're talking about like a 90% pay cut in the streaming royalties that you can receive. So I don't know what to tell you other than that's what's happening. That's where we are right now. Are things going to get better? I do have hope. I see some signs that things will get better. A lot of these streaming services are starting to add more advertising supported tiers because even they themselves are running into money problems and financial problems. So there is going to be more and more money, and basically advertisements are really where most of the money is in TV. So I see a brighter future there, but we are not there today. So I definitely tell you guys to focus on TV and film, and those are the kind of companies that you're going to learn more about in this boot camp, okay? Realistic annual income, again, this is with full-time effort. This isn't just dumping off one album this year and then coming back next year and going like, hey, where's all my money? This is with you consistently cranking out new music. You're partnering with the right libraries. Again, all the things we're going to show you guys how to do this. But again, this is an average. This isn't a guarantee. These aren't minimums. These aren't maximums. I want to make sure, again, this is not easy. And this is also not just sort of like what you absolutely can expect. So this is just an average. This is basically from my experience, from the people that I know working in this business, a rough average estimate, okay? Disclaimers out of the way. Okay. 20 to 50K per year is what you can probably expect to earn if you're doing primarily background instrumental work, okay? Again, 20K is not, you could do a lot less than that. 50K is not your top. You can do better than that. But this is average, not extremely exciting, okay? But that's something, and to make music your full-time job, if you can support yourself in those kind of ranges, that's not nothing. And even if this is something that you focus on for a good amount of time and then you kind of focus on other things, you can sort of build up a good amount of catalog that can still last for multiple years. I haven't been extremely active in creating new music since 2020, since the pandemic. I now have kids, so my life is kind of rearranged. But my royalties have stayed the same or even grown in the last 4 years, even though I've only maybe put out 50 tracks in the last 4 years, so a much smaller number than I obviously used to. So there still isn't a potential for passive income to keep streaming in after you are, maybe you want to move on to something else in your life. Okay. But that's basically if you're only doing the background instrumental work, you're not even touching vocals, you're not really going for themes, you're just kind of going a lot of, sports, it could be reality shows, that kind of thing. If you want to get into the 50 to 100K plus per year, it is possible for a very small number of you guys, okay? Not common, extremely rare, very, very rare, okay? You are going to have to go mess with vocals. You have to put vocals in your music. That's just nothing, no way ifs and ands or buts about that. You definitely need to focus more on getting featured placements. We'll talk about how to focus on that. And most importantly, you need to get into theme work, okay? Theme songs are when a show starts and there's music bumping up and going crazy. And they're getting you hyped up to watch, a sports show, a reality show, whatever. You guys know the themes when you see them. The music you hear behind that is called a theme. Those are basically the cream of the crop. They get paid the most from BMI and ASCAP and all PROs around the world. So this is sort of the grand slams that you want to work towards. And the only way to get to them in my career has been to work through production music libraries that have really strong relationships with those clients that can pitch to them, and you having a really strong relationship directly, again, with them, not through some middleman service, not with any sort of opaqueness between them, but directly talking, emailing, Zooming, phone calling with library CEOs. That's, to me, the only path to get there if you want to. Now, for those of you that are going to join us, again, if you're on YouTube, you need to click on the link below to get access to those Zoom calls. We're going to have Todd Andrew join us on Thursday here on this challenge, and he is a six-figure plus sync licensing producer, primarily because he has done a lot of theme work, okay? This is the year that I got my first theme through Major League Baseball, so I am going to try to creep up in his footsteps and try to, get up to his level. But he is definitely doing very, very well in the production music library world, primarily because he has knocked out themes for, as I said before, NBC, Fox Sports, and Disney. So he has multiple themes running on multiple channels. In fact, at one point, I think he had 2 themes on Fox Sports going at the same time. That's where you see your royalties basically explode beyond words. So he's going to share with us his story, how he got those placements, what he does to ensure that he keeps getting those placements, and what it feels like to really just work in this business and to grind. I mean, that took many years before Todd got to that point. So he's going to keep it real with you guys as well. So that's why you want to make sure you do sign up and join and keep coming back for this challenge. Okay. Now, who pays the most? Various types of placements, obviously, that you can get. You guys are aware of that. There's vocal placements, there's instrumental type of placements, there are featured placements, there's background placements, there's source. Source just means somebody walks into a dance club and the DJ is playing a fun dance song and your track is playing. That actually happened to me in the movie Let's Be Cops. There's a scene where the bad guys show up in their big SUV, they open up the door and some dance music is playing. It's my dance song. So that would be a source placement, okay? Themes, as I said, those are the top cream of the crop. You really want to do that. Jingles, sort of similar to themes. The jingles are kind of more on the advertising space, but definitely those are 2 of your top earners right there, themes and jingles, okay? Themes and jingle, well, I just got ahead of myself. Generally, we don't have a sort of clear idea as to why certain placements earn more or less exactly, because the PROs, BMI, and ASCAP, again, to their detriment, are not transparent on their algorithms for their formulas for how they're calculating this thing, okay? But generally, okay, across the board, this is how it kind of works. The more eyeballs that saw the show that featured your music, and plus the more value your music is adding to that scene, let's say a theme is extremely valuable, right? How valuable is a background instrumental cue behind some actors that are talking? I mean, it's valuable. That's why we get paid for it. But is it the only track that could have been played there? Is it really making or breaking that show? Probably not, right? Much less valuable. Still valuable, but less than a theme or a jingle that's really hitting you in the face and going, boom, here's our show. And by the way, the show that I have a theme on is Intentional Talk on Major League Baseball Network, if you guys want to go check that out. So generally more eyeballs, generally more value, and you're basically going to then probably expect to earn more money, okay, generally, right? Factors that are going to determine this, what's going to go higher or lower, which network is it on, right? The primetime networks, the free networks, NBC, ABC, CBS generally pay very, very well in my experience. The airtime, if you get a placement at 9 p.m. on a Thursday night, that's prime time. You're going to get a higher rate. You get a placement on, I don't want to throw shade at any cable company, but I don't know. True TV, I think that's one, right? At 4 a.m., which I get a lot of placements. I think Parking Wars is one that I get on. I think that's on True TV. At 4 a.m., obviously not as many eyeballs, not as much value. So you're not going to see tons and tons of royalties from that, or higher levels of royalties. The use type, as we said, is it background? Is it foreground? Is it the source? Is it the theme? All that kind of stuff. The ratings of the show, the Nielsen ratings do play a role as well. So those are all the elements that do it. But again, you'll get your royalty statements and you just won't really get any explanation as to why. You can kind of deduce sometimes, but sometimes it's a straight up mystery. And I've released so many videos on my channel going, why am I getting paid this much? I don't really know. I have no idea, right? Syndication, again, is that kind of magical place you want to get to in this industry where you are going to this, one track, one album is getting placed on multiple episodes of a particular show. And then those episodes are getting placed over and over again and in multiple, territories and countries all over the world. I got placements with the Keeping Up with the Kardashians show in 2014, 2015, whenever they were going hot. I'm still getting royalties from that show because it's in syndication. It goes on replay. Streaming sites are now carrying it, and it's going across all different marketplaces all over the world. People all over the world, for some reason, love that family. And thank God, because that gives me a little bit more income in my bank account. So syndication is definitely one of the big keys that if you can unlock that in this business, you're going to see some great results, okay? So timeline for success. I know we're coming up on the hour, so I'm going to kind of get through this a little bit quicker. How long is this all going to take? Again, this is going to take a long time. So if you're not in this for a commitment for a long term, don't even get started. Don't waste your time. Find something else to do. Consideration fees for some of those exclusive libraries, not all of them. Again, probably 25% of them, they get paid out immediately. So you can earn money like very quickly if you partner with the right company, give them probably vocal music or just music that they feel is extremely valuable that they're willing to pay some upfront fees for them. Royalties take a year to be paid out. I got my theme starting to air in March of this year, so I'm not expecting any royalties until at least March of 2025. That's the kind of patience it's gonna be required of you. If that sounds like hell, it is. It's really, really, really long. But that's why we can kind of hang with each other and keep each other motivated throughout that waiting period. But there definitely is a sense of like, do the work, forget about it. Get the placement, forget about it, and move forward. And be pleasantly surprised in a year or 2 years when you're like, oh, cool, those royalties are coming in. That's kind of the mindset it takes to really do well, okay? It took me about 3 years, maybe a little over 3 years to see encouraging income. And what I mean by that is it's not full-time income. I wasn't paying all my bills with it. But it was growing to the point where I was like, the rate of growth and how big it was, I could start to lean on it, right? Because at the time, I was doing a lot of independent contract work and just sort of independent gigging everywhere to kind of make ends meet. And then when I start the 3 to 4 mark, I started to see the bump up in royalties where I was like, this could be my full-time focus. And maybe I could be a little more serious about that. And I kind of wish I had made those moves earlier on and been a lot more serious about it because I don't think it would have taken me that long to see the results that I did. And that's what I'm trying to share with you guys this in this week's boot camp. Try to take this seriously as soon as possible to make sure that you are going to get to, part-time or full-time income as soon as you possibly can, and not as long as it took for me, okay? For me, it was about 5, 6, 7 years in, somewhere in there, where my income was starting to pay my bills, and I could 100% rely on them, but that's because I think I didn't take it seriously early enough. But again, no guarantees. There are a lot of things out of our control in this industry, but there's a lot you can control, and we're gonna show you what you can control in this challenge. You can do this alongside your current jobs and gigs, and I highly recommend that you do. I think it's very irresponsible to quit your day job, especially if you are, supporting a family with kids or something like that. Absolutely no. Hell no. You do not quit your job to go for this without any sort of guarantee in place. This is what you do on nights. This is what you do on weekends. This is what you do. You maybe wake up an hour or two before you go to work. You don't need to have an extra 8 hours a day to do well at this. Even just 2 hours extra a day or 1 hour a day. If you can be consistent, you can get a lot done basically. And we're going to show you guys what you can actually get done in this. Okay. And I'm strongly telling you guys to do this. We're going to come up to the end of this presentation where I'm going to give you guys a challenge. But I want to make sure you guys are aware that if you really want to do this, you want to become one of those 5%, you better be ready to commit at least 2 to 5 years to do this, okay? This is where some reality might be hitting some of you guys, and you're going to click X on that Zoom call. And I totally, accept that, and I encourage that, in fact. If that seems unbelievably too long for you to start to see some income, that's why 95% of people are not doing well in this business, okay? But this challenge, again, if you guys stick with me for the entire week, is going to be a super boost. That's my promise to you guys, okay? So here's your challenge. You guys ready? We are at the 10 o'clock hour. I promise I'm going to get you guys out here right away. This is what you guys all need to think about. You don't have to put it in the chat right now, but definitely think about this today. Go to bed on it. Why are you doing this? You now know the promises. You now know the pitfalls. You know how long it can take. You know what the income levels can look like on average again. So why the hell are you going to be the crazy, desperate person to get to be in that 5%? Why are you doing this? Maybe something is bothering you in your current life, your current workload. Maybe you love music so much. Maybe just the idea of getting on TV is just such an exciting prospect that's what's driving you, motivating you. What are you in this for? Why are you going to do this? And this is so important why we're starting this challenge off with this question, because this is going to be the question that you will come back to in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, 3 years, I guarantee you almost every single BMI or ASCAP royalty statement that you get, they're going to be pretty disappointing for a while. You're going to come right back to this to go like, why did I do this to begin? And you better remind yourself, and you better have a really good why, because that's going to be the only reason why you keep going down this. I can tell you my why. My why was the promise I made to myself, which was never go back to that 9 to 5 world, and never go work for other people, never go subject myself to the vision of another person that I don't respect and don't admire and don't want to be on their team. So that was for me. It was a little bit of spite, a little bit of anger. I'm going to accept that. But that spite and anger motivated me, and it got me to the next phase in my career and had me just put my head down, keep marching forward in this business. So put some thought into this. I'm going to ask you guys when we come back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., 12 noon Eastern time, what your answers were. So make sure you do have it written down, okay? So thank you guys. We made it. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Come back, okay? Tomorrow's when we're going to really get the party started. I'm going to give you guys my first library recommendation. This is going to be a top-rated company for you guys to potentially pitch to. I'm going to show you who their clients are. I'm going to play some of their music. I'm going to show you exactly what types of music, a specific type of music. And spoiler alert, it's going to require some vocals, as we've been talking about, that you can really shine and do well with this particular company. So definitely come back. We're going to reveal that one. We are going to do some track reviews with the attending students. This will not be on YouTube. For those of you on YouTube, again, last chance. Click on that link below. Get access to our Zoom links for tomorrow. And if you guys, submit working links and in the appropriate genres. A lot of you guys were saying hip hop and pop and rock. Those are all good genres. A little spoiler alert. Those are all really good genres for what we're going to talk about tomorrow. And so we're going to get through as many tracks as we possibly can to let you guys know who I feel has tracks that are ready to go. And if not, I'll try to give you some tips on what you can do to get your tracks higher and more on quality and on par. So if you guys are on YouTube and you guys are watching, this is your warning and your last chance to click on that link below, put your email address in, and you guys will get access to our Zoom links that will start again. We'll start up day 2 at 9 a.m. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to hang out for a bit. And if you guys have any questions on what I went through, post it in the chat. Some of you guys need to go. Totally understand that. I want to respect your time. I'm going to try to really be tight on this to keep it at an hour. But I also saw some great questions come by. I don't know if I will still see those. If you guys still want to stick around and ask some questions about what I've talked about today, let's do it. I'll hang out for a little bit longer, and we'll keep this streaming here on YouTube. So, but this I'm only going to do questions for the Zoom people. Sorry. All the sessions will be roughly an hour. Correct. Yes. And at the same time every single day, 9 a.m. Pacific time to 12, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern time. All right, you guys are already putting in your whys. That's great, but I'm going to ask you tomorrow. What if I can air commercials and trailers on Nickelodeon and MTV because I have connections? How to start a business with that related to sync? You would probably want to start your own production music library. If you've got connections to get placements, you probably want to have a good collection of tracks that you can serve to the people that you know. So you, Patry or Patry, you want to start a production music library for sure. That sounds to me like what you'd want to do. Thank you, Sebastiano. Glad that was helpful. Are royalties transferable to survivors after your death? Yeah, you can basically make up a trust that you can have that go to your survivors. But I don't know if BMI or ASCAP are going to be able to help you do that. You probably would have to go set up a living trust that, you know, any money coming to you in your bank account basically would start to go to somebody else. Again, I'm not a legal expert or financial planner. Go talk to somebody who knows that stuff better for sure. Keeping tracks under 3 minutes, does it matter? Yes. Probably under 3 minutes is a good rule of thumb. It depends on the genre. Trailer tracks can be a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes max. Some tension cues are a minute and a half, sometimes maybe just a little over a minute, but 2 to 3 minutes is kind of the rough place you want to stick with production music for sure. Are syndicated shows just one cue sheet and it airs over and over? You know, that's a good question. I don't know if they generate new cue sheets when they're going to place it in a new... My gut would say that they do, because they're going to be doing that. And especially when you go to foreign markets, they're going to have to be another way to... Because obviously a US cue sheet, I don't know if that follows the show to the other ones or if there's going to be another one. That's a really good question. Again, like I said, guys, 16 years in the business, don't have all the answers. Doesn't matter. You can still get started, okay? Our syndicated... Oh, wait, that's the one we did. Okay. If Ivan says, if my strength is in producing urban Latin music, are there opportunities to maximize my music? Absolutely. Urban Latin music is huge, Ivan. We're probably going to have at least one company, maybe even tomorrow's, that you want to come back for that's going to be useful for that. Yeah, Latin music is big in the sync space for sure. Is it possible to get 1,000 a month in a year doing instrumentals heavy rock? Yes and no. So again, I'm not going to tell you guys all you got to do is put out this much music in this genre, and you will get $1,000 a year, a month in a year. There's no guarantees or any of that kind of stuff. Again, how good is your music? What company did you partner with? Is your music relevant for them? There's so many variables. I would say yes, it's possible for sure, but unlikely. I'll tell you that. Very unlikely. 1,000 a month. You're looking at a couple of years in before you're going to start to see that. So again, I have some members that have done great and blown up their royalties very, very quickly. I featured them on my channel, but they are the exception to the rule. It is not standard for sure. So I'll make sure you guys are clear on that. Vocal samples from Splice. Okay, if you're going to use anything vocal, like a pre-recorded sample or a loop, distort it, change it, twist it around, and I would almost tell you without exception, don't use anything with a melody or with lyrics, because there's too many problems with doing that. Other producers can use it. You're also not adding anything of yourself. You know, these days you need to add something of yourself to the music you're going to submit to Production Music Library. So if you're just stacking up loops from other pre-recorded loops, what do they need you for? We've got AI. We've got robots that can do that. We don't need robots in the business. We need human beings with great original work. So as much as you can make your music original and compose it all yourself and record some of it live, as much of it as live as you possibly can, definitely the better. Themes and jingles under 30 seconds. Generally, yes, but you're not going to know that until you get a brief, right? So somebody that says, hey, we're going to put this, like I got the Ford commercial one. I think it was a little bit longer because of an explainer video. It might have been 45 seconds, something like that. So you don't generally write themes or jingles until you're asked to do it, right? You can try to compose some sample ones just to show what you're capable of doing. But generally, you don't really know what somebody wants until they say, here's our spot. You know, it's 36 seconds long or it's 21 seconds long, and we need music to match it, right? And that's when you start to know exactly what you're going to do. So that's going to come with a brief when you work with it. Preferred song structure for sync. Let's talk about that tomorrow, Christian. It's a great question, but there isn't any sort of particular structure other than I can say you generally want your track to be kind of like one big crescendo. That the start of it is at the more minimal place, and it builds in crescendos to the large final just big finale. That's generally what you want to do. But it's such a big question, loaded question, that we'll talk more about that the rest of the week. I can't get into all that right now. Albums are usually 8 to 10, sometimes 12 tracks. It can depend on the library, but 8 is probably the minimum, 10 is probably the average, and 12 would probably be your max. So moving lines, when you create music, do you have to register with your PRO? No. Generally, when you work with production music libraries, as I'm going to coach you guys to do, the libraries are going to register them, so you don't have to do them. And no, you probably don't want to and probably won't be able to release your music on CD Baby or TuneCore if you're making specifically music as production music meant for libraries. If you want to work with a sync agent, which I might share with you guys, one of our companies this week that kind of works as both. It does do production music, but it also is a sync agency. They're cool with your music on TuneCore, on Spotify, Apple Music, all that kind of stuff. But no, if you're going to work and you're going to follow in my footsteps, or you're going to follow in Todd's footsteps, the guy who's going to join us on Thursday with the themes, you're generally not going to be registering your tracks. You're going to let a library do that. And you're also not going to be releasing your music publicly. Those are going to be exclusively released with these companies that I'm going to share with you, okay? How important is it to constantly be looking for new libraries to work with? Only if, it's a good question, Mark, but only if you're not happy with the results you're getting, right? If you're getting great results with the 2 or 3 companies that you partner with, and that's going to be my strategy I share with you guys, why move on? In fact, you'll find out with Todd, he worked with one company his entire career, and he got great results, so he stuck with them, okay? I worked with a couple of different companies because I didn't necessarily know if the results I was getting with the first company I partnered with were great, and my suspicions were correct when I worked with my second one and found better results. So I do recommend you work with at least 2 or 3 to kind of A, B, and compare. But if you're liking what you're getting, you don't have to keep switching things up. But again, if you're not getting placements, you're not getting great replies, not great communication, which can happen, then it's time to get serious about finding another company. I don't get that question. Sample-free royalties, we kind of talked about that. Not sure what featured background source is. Okay, featured, it's basically a song that's not behind people talking. That's probably the easiest way to say it. It is basically in front of a scene, maybe a montage. Think of a montage, right? There's somebody working on something. They're working up towards something, and they, the music is basically there to set the tone. That would be a featured placement, right? It's right there. Or It could also be an artist that's basically performing on stage. I've had one of these where there was an artist on stage performing, and what they were doing was performing one of my songs, and so they basically had a featured placement that way. Background is obviously anything behind, let's say, two actors in a scene. They're at lunch and they're talking about whatever, committing a crime, and your tension cue is playing there in the background as they're plotting their next moves, right? That's background, okay? And source is it's coming from something within the scene. So a radio, somebody turns on the radio. In fact, my first placement was somebody in a car turning on the radio. Christy Alley, actually, turning on a radio, and one of my songs were playing as she was driving through this checkpoint or something like that. So that would be a source placement. Or you're in a dance club and somebody is DJing and there's your music coming out of the speakers within that scene in the show. So that's source. Hopefully that's helpful. So NFL placements, MLB, Fox do they have upfront fees as well? Some of them do, Brad. I mean, lately some of the opportunities I'm seeing do come with upfront fees, but not all of my career for sure. I'd say the vast majority of my career did not come with any upfront fees. They just got a placement, and then I got my royalties on the back end. You produce a backlog of tracks. What do you do with them? Do you pitch each one to libraries you are in a relationship with? Seek new libraries? So problem is, backlog of tracks I see as a potential red flag that probably a lot of those tracks are not ready for sync licensing because they were probably created way before getting into sync licensing. So that's one thing that you'll find a lot of libraries these days are not interested in, like, hey, I've got 100 songs, I've got 50 songs. To them, they almost see that as like a no thanks. They just don't even want to go there because they probably know most of those are not going to be ready for them. So again, for some of you guys, starting fresh and creating new music on day one might not be something that you really want to get involved with. And that's just like, all right, I'm out. I was looking for somewhere to just drop off my pre-existing tracks and catalog. I'm telling you guys, if you are in that category, you're not willing to commit, you're not willing to make new music, you're not willing to be creative here and actually do what your job title is, which is produce music, right? You're a music producer. Well, that means you better be producing music. If you're not in for that, I'm not saying that's you, Marty. I'm just saying for anybody else that fits in that category, don't continue on with this course. Don't continue on with sync. You are just going to be disappointed and very bitter about it. I'm just telling you right now, that's the spoiler ender to your movie. Don't do it. Just make sure that you're going to keep going with this. You're ready to work. You're ready to put on some effort and actually make some new music. I have a collection of beats on YouTube. Is it actually possible to get placements through YouTube? I mean, it's possible that somebody discovers you, but not likely. I mean, not extremely likely. How much music is on YouTube? How many of them are looking on YouTube for a placement? I'm not saying it's impossible, but in my approach, what you're doing is you're basically directly approaching people that have the great TV and film relationships that can help you, get your placements right. How do you copyright all your songs? Again, you don't need to. You can work with a production music library that can handle all of that on your behalf. That's what's great about this industry. They kind of take care of a lot of that business stuff for you as well. Your job is to verify and make sure that you are, showing out. Obviously, if they register your tracks with BMI or ASCAP, you got to make sure you log in and find that your name as the writer. You got to make sure that you do that, but you don't have to register in terms of you're saying mailing your tracks off to the Library of Congress. I've never done that in my entire career, 16 plus years. In this entire career, never done that. Okay, never paid a dime for that. And by the way, you own your copyright the minute that you have it in a tangible medium. I think some people don't understand that. They think that you have to register your work with the government to get a copyright. No, they just help you protect it, which is obviously very important. I'm not saying it's meaningless, but we create copyrights. People, human beings, create copyrights, not the government. All right, let's see. Yeah, people are asking about people going on YouTube to get music. Sure, like every so often somebody might be looking for, but generally they're going to probably look for artists, I would say, Joshua. They're probably not going to look for somebody that has a bunch of beats, right? If they need a beat, they're going to go to a production music library. There's already a ton that are cleared. They don't have to like go back and forth. Like that's what's beautiful, and that's the advantage for a production music library in a TV world is they can come and say, hey, so you got a buffet of production music that I can use for all of my episodes that we're about to produce? Yeah, use them all. It's just, feast your eyes. It's just as much music as they want. It's all pre-cleared. When you work with a production music library, you're signing saying you guys get to pitch this music to anybody you want to in the TV film world. So all that clearance has been done beforehand, so there's less friction. So if somebody coming out to a beat maker on YouTube, they got to find your email, ask you, can we use it? You got to negotiate. That's a lot more work for them. It's a lot more friction. So people don't like to go through a lot of friction to get music. They just want to be able to download it, put it in their show, and get it as soon as possible. Yes, Kenny's asking about Afrobeat. Afrobeat's huge. I'm getting a lot of requests from that from a lot of libraries that we talk to. Excuse me. More and more people are wanting Afrobeat. Huge for sure. Yes, and the Zoom link is going to be emailed to you guys tomorrow. I will send it to you guys as I did today around 8:45, 8:50 Pacific time. So if you guys, again, if you're still on YouTube and you haven't gotten and clicked on that link below, get it, and I'll make sure you guys get it tomorrow morning. I'm sending it to everybody every single day, so don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about the original email, but it's also in the original email when you guys signed up, the confirmation email. Yes, I agree, Roger. Tired of working with other people and giving them all my my all without any appreciation. Absolutely, what I was feeling too. Cool. Let's see. What about sync for video games, skateboarding videos, backroom videos? Yeah, video games for sure. Video games are dwarfing the TV and film industry altogether. Video games are serious business, and we definitely will be talking more about getting placements in video games. Skateboarding videos, I don't know about much of that. That sounds like maybe a little more online stuff. The backrooms videos, I don't know about what that is. So, yeah, I'm not sure about those ones. So David's got 30 tracks you produce on a buyout agreement, placed in multiple episodes of an NBC show at Deal or No Deal. Cool. Island. Oh, they have a new version of it. Should aim to write similar style tracks and pitch to other companies. I mean, maybe, David. Hopefully you can get a track review here. But it sounds like if you've got a sort of way of making music that seems to already be proven for a particular type of client, that would probably be an indication for me. If I were you, I would say, yeah, it looks like the marketplace is saying thumbs up. We like David's tracks for these types of shows, right? So yeah, you've got some sort of proof there that what you're doing is actually working. That's great. Does it make sense to produce a genre of music that I'm strong in? Yes. Synthwave, synthpop, absolutely, Ruben. I would say you should only be producing in a genre that you're strong in. Never chase because you think some type of music is more licensable or there's more money here or there. You can only get away with that for so long. So I definitely say when you get your foot in the door, focus on what you're great at, one particular style, and it's something that you just, you got your heart in for sure. So yes, and we're going to do track reviews. We didn't do any today, Symphony. We're going to do our reviews starting tomorrow. So make sure you guys do show up tomorrow. That's what we were talking about in the beginning of our session. So tomorrow is when we start some of our track reviews. So bring your tracks tomorrow, and we'll get into those. I am a fan of Disco. Disco is becoming kind of the go-to platform for us. Yeah, and definitely, Jeff, come back because we're going to talk about some other libraries if you want to expand. Some of you guys are in that bucket where you're in one library or maybe a couple, but you're like, hey, is there anybody else? Maybe I should look at anybody else. That's what we're going to talk about this week as well. You might want to think about expanding your network. And maybe not this week. Maybe you're cool with your one library, but at some point, you probably will want to. I'll just be honest. Like, I've hopped around from many different libraries in my 16 years in this business. It's just a part of the business. So you got to be kind of nimble, a little more flexible in terms of work with somebody as long as it's working and it's fruitful and it's mutually beneficial. But there might be a time and a place where things change and, libraries go out of business, people leave, key people that you've been in relationship with, they leave the business and the company. Happened to me. You got to be nimble. You got to realize it's not the end of your career. It just might be the end of your path with this particular person or company, right? This is a great question. Rich is asking if vocal music is more desirable, how do we write lyrics if they are not for a specific placement? Excellent. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, Richard. So I'm not going to give away and spoil that, but that is $1 million question right there. And we're going to give you the answer to that one tomorrow. Okay. You better come back. All right. I have an album in the library that I'm also a part of. Okay. I haven't talked to them in over a year. I reached back today, see if they're asking a need so I can make an album for that. They like and appreciate that. Yeah. That's a great idea. Yes. Always take the initiative for those of you guys that are working with the library. You're like, hey, we haven't been talking recently. Never rely on them to kick up the relationship. Remember, they have 20, 30, maybe even 50 composers, producers that are probably supplying them with music, and they're busy. These are all busy people that are not only servicing you guys and helping answer your questions as composers and producers, but they have all their TV and film clients. They're right in between these two sets of clients, so they're very, very busy. Put it on yourself to basically reach out and say, hey, I'd like to talk. Let's get on the phone call. How can I be useful? How can I be serviceable for what you guys are going for? Very, very important to basically start to make yourself known and noticeable with the clients that you are working with your libraries, for sure. I would definitely recommend do that today. Email them and say, hey, it's been a while. Sorry, I own it. My bad. What are you guys working on? What can I do? Definitely take it upon yourself for sure. Yes, if you have somebody like your wife, Adrienne, who's going to be a singer, she would also need to sign up with a PRO. You guys are going to be splitting probably your royalties. I would recommend just 50-50, especially if it's your wife. Might want to give her 60% actually. But no, do 50-50. And yes, she'll definitely need to be on the PRO, unless you guys want to keep it all in your name. And then when you guys obviously get your royalties, whatever you guys want to split, just knowing that I would say just keep things very, very clear of hey, when she comes on your tracks, she's going to be singing. She's going to get 50% of the royalties for sure. She's going to need to sign up with one of the PROs. Again, I recommend BMI. Is it recommended to use stock music as a training ground for sync? My only thing with that is yes and no. Obviously, you could go to a Pond5 or a stock site to basically, put some music out there, see how it works, that kind of thing. My whole thing is that okay, so if you were and I don't want this to sound insulting, but it's going to sound insulting, so whatever. If you wanted to go play, you wanted to be an NBA player, you want to get to the majors, right? Who would you go want to train with? Would you want to go train with fifth graders or like college level players that are at your local park that play, every Saturday, like college level, high quality competitive people are playing every single Saturday. But you also know, at 4 p.m. that day, the fifth graders come out and they play. Who do you want to go train with, right? I'm not saying stock music is the fifth graders, but in a sense, I'm saying stock music is the fifth graders, okay? Stock music can be great, and there's some amazing high quality music, but there's also a ton of trash on stock music, okay? So just because you can get your foot in your door, and almost anybody really can with stock music, I'm not saying everybody can, but it's, the standards are much lower for stock. I think sometimes if you don't challenge yourself to go like, I'm going to go get trained on listening to high quality production music, and that's what we're going to show you guys this week in the challenge. You don't go to the pros. You just like, why not? I remember when I was in college and I was like, I want to write hit songs. Would it be better for me to try to train myself by listening to other people, in my college writing music? Or should I just go listen to the radio and listen to hit songs and go like, what are these, like which sample point of data should I be pulling from to try to compare my music against? It's obvious. You go to the pros. You just go to the radio. You go to the top hits. You go to production music libraries. Go to the top and see what's really working and challenge yourself to say, I want to get my music up to that point. Now, if you have a lot of music that you've pitched to libraries, they don't get accepted, it's probably better to put them in a stock site than having them sitting on your hard drive, because then you're not going to earn any money at all. Okay, so that would be the exception to that, where I'd say, yes, that could be something. But I don't know. I'm not in the sense of not challenging yourself to thinking that somehow competing in the stock world will translate to the sync world. In small circumstances, maybe it can. I just don't see a very compelling case that it would. Is it cool to request upfront cue sheet info from your library? I don't know what you mean by upfront cue sheet. And by the way, the libraries don't generate the cue sheets. It is the production company rather. So somebody producing a sports show or Keeping Up with the Kardashians or something like that, they would be the ones that would be generating and turning in that cue sheet. So I don't know if maybe we were miscommunicating on that. All right, so I think I went up a little bit. Songs have solos in them? Very rarely. Moving lines every so often, but not commonly. So, will you be offering tips on how to maintain good, consistent relationship with library? Yes, big time. PB. We're going to talk about that on Friday, and it's very simple, but it's so important to get your foot in the door. Awesome, congrats, big pat on the back. I'm going to celebrate you guys that do it. You're just getting started. You haven't done anything yet until you take that second step, which is to keep that relationship nice and warm. Okay. Can I send stems of my songs to a producer friend and do another whole song based on one or two stems of the track? We're considering doing this in split. I just don't recommend stuff like that where you're trying to take some music that you've got. I think what you're asking is like, can I have music in a catalog, take a couple of stems out, remake it, change it, and then have some music sent to somewhere else? I think you're playing a little bit cute with the rules there. And if a library accepts your music exclusively, I think 100% of that music needs to just exclusively be with that company. So I would say once you commit your music, a certain, 5 tracks, 10 tracks, 20 tracks, whatever it is you're going to go, just keep those tracks 100% with them. Don't get cute with that kind of stuff, because that could really backfire if they find that you're not being exclusive with your contract. You could be violating their contract, and adios. That's the end of your relationship with them. And you don't want to make enemies in this business. They're not unlimited numbers of production music libraries to partner with. Having a website, yeah, a website can help, but just having a disco link is great. Even just sending them, your Dropbox link or something like that. People don't. I would say SoundCloud would be the exception to the rule. I don't recommend SoundCloud. There's ads they're throwing in there. It compresses your music all weird. People don't necessarily like. But yeah, I would say just having one link. If it's going to be disco, if it's going to be Dropbox, going to be on your website, doesn't matter. As long as you're just giving your library you're pitching to one link where they can click on it and they can listen to all the music that you're going to pitch to them. That's a really important thing. So. Yes, Adrian's asking, can I do sync music separately from all my other music products? Yeah, and you can work on an alias if you want to. Nobody, like if you already have a fan base and you're like, I don't want them to know that I'm doing sync. Nobody has to know about that. You can definitely do it in a different name, or if you have like an alias as your artist, career, you can basically do this under your legal name if you want to. So yes, it's like they don't sign you as an artist to say, all right, well now we own you, like a label does. We own you for the next 7 albums. They just sign you on a per track or a per album basis. So they'll say, for the next 10 tracks, we want you to send us this kind of music, and then we are going to take exclusive distribution rights over those tracks, and that's it. They don't own the rest of your life. They don't own anything else you can do. You're a free agent. You can work with other companies if you want to, other exclusive libraries. It's a great question for sure. Okay, so streaming royalties suck. Yes, Netflix has been great for me. One particular show, Catching Killers. Wow, 100 for 2 tracks, and I got 100 plus for the following quarter as well. Okay, cool. Well, you're doing better than I ever did with that, so that's great. Rosali. So that's great. So I guess there's some hope there. Maybe things are getting better. If you're good at more than just one genre, should you create a second persona and keep them separate? Sorry, and Bobby, I know you and I have talked for a long time. Don't recommend it. I'm sorry. Everybody has one genre that you're great at. Stick with one. Sorry, I'm not going to allow it. I'm not going to allow two. You're going to need to do. Somebody's sharing a screenshot of their royalties. So, oh, this is what you're showing with the I think with the Netflix stuff. So that's cool. Awesome. All right. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to pop off here. Thank you so much. I know we had a lot more questions, so definitely come back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern time. We still have 117 of you guys hanging with me. I do appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much, but I got to go because if I don't, my voice is going to completely collapse, and then you won't have me for the rest of the week. So hopefully this was insightful. Hopefully this was encouraging, but also a little bit of tough love, a little bit of truth telling, a little bit of, maybe some rough honesty about really what's in front of you. But again, I'm doing that to make sure that you have your expectations in the right place as you get started. So click on the link below if you guys are on YouTube and you haven't joined us yet. And for the rest of you, I will email you tomorrow about 10 minutes before we go live. So jump back on and we'll start with our first library recommendation and we'll get some track reviews done. So you guys have a fantastic rest of your Monday and thank you so much for joining me.